Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is our October 3rd Town Council meeting. We'll start out the meeting with our roll call.
Morris.
Yes.
Cole.
Here.
Edwards.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Castanello.
Present.
Aiken.
Here.
Okay. And do we have James, is it Matchett, with a New Life Church? Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to our Pledge of Allegiance, if we could all stand for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Okay, our next item on our agenda is our citizens' time, our chance for to hear from our residents. The only thing we ask, if you can come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. And you have 5 minutes, or up to 5 minutes. And so at this time, I'll go ahead and open our floor to citizens' time.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Tracy Lynn Pater Freeman, as of a week ago, at 6660 Fayette Street. I am here to express my concern on the business that is opening 2 houses away from me due to traffic, noise, and the fact that that street just cannot handle any more business traffic. Sometimes we're out real quick, sometimes we're backed up, but it's just, there's no sidewalk. I just want to reiterate that, and I will continue to do so for every meeting. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, and congratulations as well.
Oh, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I guess I'm going to say the same thing, is that,
If you could just, your name and address that way. Yeah, absolutely.
Sandy Freeman, 6660 Fayette Street, 2 houses down from the site.
Okay,
Noise is a big thing. Traffic is a huge thing. It takes me 10 minutes to turn on my driveway as it is now with Chick-fil-A and such. And we're just really concerned about the backup of traffic, that the road can't handle it. There's no curb, there's no gutter, it just seems like it's a good idea. Can we just put it somewhere else? There's got to be somewhere else it could be located. We're not against that. We're just against it being on a small street where there's too much traffic as it is.
all right, thank you. Thank you for your comments there.
Hi, Rebecca Bear, 14977 Cheyenne Way. At the forum that we discussed all the park plans, one of the popular items that didn't quite make the cut on the master plan was a dog park. This is a relatively inexpensive item that could be tweaked into the master plan. The doggy daycare is a fantastic idea for a business. I worked at one for several years. However, the street that it's going on can barely handle the additional residential traffic that Sherwood Forest brought in, let alone putting additional commercial traffic on it. So I would like to suggest that maybe the town council consider tabling the rezoning application. After reviewing the planning commission meeting and hearing Chairman Cottle's comments about how, well, we heard a lot of not in our backyards. That's kind of easy to say when you have a park going in your backyard. I would like to suggest you relook at the master plan and look at putting a dog park for the residents of the town of Haymarket on the property behind the pantry building. Yes, that might be in Mr. Cottle's backyard then, and I'd like to see if his opinion changes. When residents come in and voice their concerns, everything in Haymarket is in all of our backyards. So the condescending comment that I had to hear and read again in the minutes has really taken me aback. Everyone that serves the town of Haymarket, as you all currently are, you have in the past, that I have in the past, we owe a bit more respect to the residents of the town of Haymarket because everything is in our backyard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Good name 725 Dogwood Park Lane. I'm going to speak on as a citizen, not the chairman of the planning commission. But I will address Dogs Day Out. That project has been vetted thoroughly multiple times, and we have heard citizens' comments. And if we use traffic as a benchmark, we would never do anything in Haymarket. I've lived in this town, in the town boundaries per se since '04. Prior to that, I lived in Green Hill Crossing. And I can tell you that traffic has increased exponentially. With that said, the business tax base has also increased exponentially. The folks that are asking your permission to build that Dogs Day Out have gone through everything that the planning commission asked. So I would ask that you would look at it in its totality, not from a few individual people. Okay. As far as some comments, first of all, I want to thank you all for serving the community. I've sat in your seat and I know what it's like and the hours you put in. And most of the town has very little idea the hours that you actually put in, and I appreciate it. I'm here to talk about the food pantry. The food pantry has been in the Hanover property for quite some time. The previous council voted to give the food pantry 1 year to relocate. I don't think there's anybody in the town that's against the food pantry, but at the same time, we had a lot of public forums about building a park. And I would ask you to honor the previous council's vote. Also, the food pantry's had 1 year to find a suitable place to go. And I think if they don't move now, what's going to determine they move in the future? And I really think it's time that the taxpayer dollars are used to finish the park, not to subsidize the food pantry. And I'm all for food pantries. Our church has a food pantry. But I think benevolence is better left to the charitable organizations than on the backs of the town's citizens. And that might sound a little harsh, but I think the town's been very gracious over time. I really believe it's just time to move on and get the park going. And I appreciate the council hearing this, but really we are to work for the people of the town, which I know you know and you do. So I hear a lot of things in the town, 99% of it's good, but I hear a lot of this not in my backyard mentality. Well, it's a small town. And, I hear some of my citizens that live on my street, they don't want to park in the backyard. Well, if we use that parameter, as tight as we're all packed in here, we never do anything. I want to go back to the Dogs Day Out. The noise is not going to be an issue. That was thoroughly vetted. The traffic, again, if we use that as a benchmark, we even have the chief of police come up. He's an expert in policing things of that nature. There's been no credible study done, nor could it be with the way the interchange. So again, I would ask you to wholeheartedly support what has been thoroughly vetted, and our personal feelings aside, we need to think of the good of the town. So thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you, sir. And any other citizens who would like to speak, now would be the time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close citizens' time. We're going to move the agenda around a little bit. Our item 8A will be next. We have the privilege of having Dr. Wilson of Novant Health, the UVA Health System here. I think you might have a couple words if you'd like to speak, sir, on behalf of October with Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
My voice is plenty loud.
Yeah.
I'm John Williams. I'm a breast surgeon and the medical director of the Novant Health UVA Health System Breast Center. wanted to support your breast cancer awareness efforts, especially across the street at the museum. We, just a little tidbit, we appreciate the support of the town and the council with the hospital, Haymarket Hospital. We think a great success and a great addition to the town of Haymarket. From a breast cancer perspective, 250,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States, and it's happening almost daily in this area too. And essentially across the street, we have a nationally accredited breast center, the Novant Health UVA Health System Breast Center. And really what that is where we have a team of breast cancer specialists, surgeons, medical oncologists, radiation oncologists, and others, and our patient navigator, Jackie Glenn, who's here, who really wrap our arms and our talents and our focus in a very personal way on diagnosing and treating and taking great care of the citizens of the community. It's something we're really proud of. So we wanted to share that with you and support you guys in anything that you do.
That's great. Great.
Any questions?
Any questions? All right.
Thank
I
you.
think we have a proclamation we'd like to read and then present to them. Do you want to do it? We could read it here and then present. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
A proclamation to observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas October 2016 marks more than 29 years that National Breast Cancer Awareness has educated women about early breast cancer detection, and whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month is dedicated to increasing public knowledge and the importance of early detection of breast cancer by collaborating with several public service organizations, professional associations, and government agencies who work together to ensure that the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month message is heard by thousands of women and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Society estimates in the United States more than 247,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in women this year. And whereas the American Cancer Society estimates in the United States more than 2,500 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in men this year, and whereas through research and advocacy, significant advances have been made in the fight against breast cancer, including significant decreases in mortality. And whereas the 3 million breast cancer survivors living in the United States today are a testament to courage, as well as to the importance of promoting awareness about breast cancer, providing information, funding research, following recommended screening guidelines, and offering treatment to those who are affected. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Town Council of Haymarket, Virginia, does hereby recognize the month of October 2016 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and ask all citizens to join in this worthy cause to celebrate successes and memorialize lost battles. In witness, therefore, this third day of October 2016.
That's great. You go up here and we'll present it. This time, while we're still standing, we're going to go over in Lighter Museum. Games.
What? Where? Oh.
I mean, we can do the minutes, right? It's not gonna.
Well, we're just going to vote to accept it, right? Next time we have a field trip, can we have little milks?
Yeah, that's right.
You want a snack too, John?
Okay, be back here. Let's go ahead and, we're going to go to 8B as well, farm and acreage. We could have Guy, if you'd like to make your presentation.
Hi, my name is Guy Gravitt, and I live at 8404 Lees Ridge Road in Warrenton, Virginia. I'm here in my capacity as a real estate broker for the property ownership 1566 Associates. It's a 20-acre parcel next to Chick-fil-A, in between Chick-fil-A and Giuseppe's. The reason I'm here, we had submitted an application for the entire 20 acres, which required a rezoning for townhomes as well as an SUP for the Lidl grocery store. Let me show this around. We had wanted to try to put everything together, and had lots of good hints along the way. You considered phasing this project, but I'm kind of hard-headed, so I thought, well, I can get everything done and get it all done, and one fell swoop will be done, and so hang with me. Well, Lidl has been very patient. We've had like 5 contract extensions, and I don't want them to get to the point where they're thinking that I can't, or we can't as a town come together and get an approval. So what the ownership is willing to do is set aside the rezoning and just do a second submission focused solely on the Lidl application. One of the interesting things is we'll continue to do all of the street frontage improvements. So that entire section of road from Chick-fil-A to Giuseppe's will have the new improved sidewalks. The past few months, we've been able to work with VDOT on the condemnation for the interchange, and part of that was the street improvements and the relocation of the power lines. So we've had progress, but not enough progress to go forward with the whole application. We get into cost consideration, all of these things come into play. So the goal here is to try to get Lidl to the finish line if that's a use that the town would like to see. So I thought that it would be best for me to introduce Kevin Mokas of Lidl, let him show you what he's trying to accomplish here in town, and then we would come in for the second submission of the application focused only on the SUP, not the rest of the real estate at this time. Okay? Kevin?
Thanks, Guy. So like I said, my name is Kevin Mokas. I'm the development manager for Lidl, covering the Northern Virginia territory. A little bit about Lidl, because I'm sure a lot of people don't know much about Lidl just because we don't have any locations open in the United States yet. But we actually began as a small neighborhood grocer in Germany in the 1930s. So been around for over 70 years now. Now we have about 10,000 stores across Europe. We're getting ready to jump the pond. So we've been basically in acquisitions, due diligence, permitting, and entitlements, basically from Hudson River all the way down to Atlanta at this point. So, currently now we're looking at sites all over Northern Virginia. One of the towns we hope to enter is Haymarket. So we're really excited at the opportunity to be opening a grocery store here. Our store is going to be about 36,000 square feet, carrying mostly private label products, probably around, you know, we're still finalizing our product mix, but it'll be between 80-95% private label products geared towards the American consumer. So part of what having a private label brand allows us to do is source all our products at a very low cost and maintain high quality assurance over those products. So we're going to be bringing to the American marketplaces very high quality products at a very low price. So that's kind of the niche that we're going to be filling in the market here in the U.S. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Question from the council.
Either you or Guy might be able to answer this. What percentage of the acreage would be taken up by this store and the parking as opposed to what's not going to be done?
Currently, the contract that we're contemplating is 3.6 acres, but Kevin keeps telling me wants more land. So we're not there yet, but currently our layout has 165 spaces. What Kevin believes the perfect prototype is 180 parking spaces with 36,000 square feet. That would probably be at least 4 acres, if not more. So of the 20-acre site, we'd still have 15 acres. And what we've worked out through Marchant's good resources was to really do more of a curvature road. We had originally had a spine street in, and the curvature of the road will help protect the balance of that acreage, the 15 acres, and make it, you know, it'll have a great window to 66. And it will, you know, the piece that we're talking about with Lidl is right next to Chick-fil-A. So the rest of the frontage from the entrance road to Giuseppe's will be improved, and we'll have a road that will end up probably stubbing somewhat near the entrance to the Lidl store for phase 1.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Around the dice here.
For Guy. Do we get to use the parking lot next year? Okay.
Absolutely. We have no problem with that. Combination 7, anyway, use the gate to open it. There's a combo there.
Okay.
Don't have to take it off the hinge.
Okay.
That way we can shut it and keep it secure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're on that. We heard about the problems. And,
But,
No
okay,
problem.
but you answered my question about positioning and where it's oriented in the property. So it's closer to
Right next door to Chick-fil-A.
the way it is right now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Think
sir.
of the gate that's there, the cattle gate. It's basically between the gate and Chick-fil-A on the property. That's where it'll sit. If you can picture
Got
it in
it.
your mind.
Towards the front.
Where we didn't brush hog.
But
There
we,
you go.
we want to improve the entire frontage.
Right.
So we're
Got it.
setting up, whether or not the property goes for rezoning or just stays with the existing B1 commercial, we think we're setting up the balance of the property for success. So we think having a grocery is a good anchor, even though what they call it in terms, it's a shadow anchor, because he gets to own it. So we're like shadow anchors, right? But even if we don't go in for the mixed use and keep it as commercial, we think it does not hurt the commercial viability of the balance of the property.
So I know we have to go through some process and analysis and what have you. So one of the things that's going to be a concern, of course, is traffic.
Well,
Right.
we've done a lot. We did a TIA, and we're actually, what we're doing with this is a second submission. So we've been through the paces somewhat already to lock in where the entrances needed to be, all the turn lanes.
Right. And that's the discussions you've had with VDOT,
Yeah,
so.
yes, and we've
it's
had
promising.
Kittleson as our, so we're hoping to really kind of move, because these guys are getting anxious on me.
So what's your
I don't wanna
optimistic,
lose it.
what's your optimistic date to get started?
Well, it's up to you guys as far as when the SUP approved, and then we'll run a site plan to do the bonding and the site infrastructure improvements of the frontage and the entrance road with his site plan for the store. So I'll leave it to him on when he wants to get started.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
My answer is always as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Of course. I would say if everything goes smoothly with all our entitlements and site plan, hopefully get starting by no later than early 2018.
I do have another question relative to your product, what you sell, the competition in town. So how do we square up, what's the rationale, I think, versus other stores in town, for example, Food Lion? Is that going to be a direct competitor? Is it going to be somewhat of a balancing act? I'm not really sure where your business fits with that competitive thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, we will be competing with all the major grocery stores that we're near. One of our big real estate strategies is locating near other retailers so that we can pick up on a lot of the traffic that's passing by. Part of our model is just because we are a smaller footprint grocery store, we're only 36,000 square feet, but with the private label brand, we're able to carry the complete product mix. That it becomes, we're set up ideally that you can stop by on your way home from work and pick up the couple things you need to make dinner that night, or you can come on the weekends and fill up your whole cart. So we're trying to be located in the most convenient areas possible.
What about prepared foods? Is that
it's not going to be, I would say, I mean, like I said, we're still finalizing our product line, but it's not going to be, our major draw won't be prepared foods, but we will have various options available.
And so for Guy, I guess the next question is, if this is your front end doing Lidl, if I pronounced it correctly, what's your projection for continuing on with the project?
If we had moved forward with the townhomes, that would have been phase 2. And then that would have put us in a position to be more selective on the additional retail. We always would like to see a hotel, but we can't. That's probably the hardest as far as landing the right use, because if you do a hotel wrong, it's just wrong. There's only a right way or a wrong way. So you've really got to be patient to make sure you get that right, flag. So, but right now, I think our timeline would be, let's get one deal done and then go from there. I think that's what the ownership's thinking right now.
Okay, well, thank you. Look forward to seeing in the future.
I heard it's easier to get a hotel with a conference center. No, I'm just joking. In regards to Lidl, so you don't have any U.S. stores?
No, not currently.
When is your first U.S. store going to open?
It's hard to say right now because while we're on one track with our real estate team, we're still trying to play catch up with developing our product line, getting our distribution centers complete. But we're definitely going to have stores open by the end of 2017.
And you said from Atlanta as far north as
The Hudson.
Hudson?
Hudson Valley.
Awesome. No further questions.
Councilwoman Edwards, sorry.
I can speak for myself.
Councilwoman Edwards.
Let me discuss it. I just want to tap onto what Councilman Passanello said. My biggest concern would be the Food Lion that's already in town. Food Lion has lost a chunk of its business to Walmart that came in. And going forward with this plan, if your store is as good as the way that you're selling it, it's highly possible that more chunks of Food Lion's business would move over to your store. And the concern that I see immediately is there's only one exit plan on that side of the street. With Food Lion, there's 3-4 different exits. So it helps us in the town in navigating and moving traffic. So it is a concern for me and I'm not here to correct you guys or teach you about business strategy or how to take away other business from other companies. It's just a concern, and the reality is that Food Lion may lose more business, and God forbids that they may close, then all the business is right there on that side of the street beside a busy Chick-fil-A, already busy pharmacy, and then another busy supermarket because now their main competitor is out. So that's kind of my biggest concern, and I hope you guys have spent time in looking at the possibility of, that side of the street really becoming jammed up with traffic. I mean, you're going to be doing traffic analysis right now, but I don't know how fair that analysis is because it's not taking into account the fact that all that traffic that used to go over that side of the street now is going to be shifted, in the next few years if you guys continue to do good business. So I want you guys to be aware of that. Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
My only concern is not with it being there or anything like that. How stuck is corporate on this design?
I mean, we're trying to instill a prototype that we can kind of have across the whole East Coast, but I mean, we fully recognize, and we've talked to Marshawn extensively, that we'll be going before the Architecture Review Board.
Okay.
It's not something we haven't done before in the past couple of years, so.
Well, Germans are known for their sense of humor and flexibility. They're going to have to be changing quite a lot with that design. That's very European looking, and doesn't really fit. So I would encourage you to talk to the ARB.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for either guy? Nope. All right. Well, Marshawn. Yes.
Would it be accurate to say, and I've heard this analogy before, it's a cross between like a Trader Joe's and a Harris Teeter? Would that be kind of an accurate reflection of what Lidl, the market they try to capture?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really compare us to any other competitors directly, but I would say it's fair to say, Trader Joe's it's a very small footprint, has pretty much all private label, tightly controlled product line, and then Harris Teeter has, everything you could ever want to put in your cart. So we're really going to be filling the niche that's between those two stores.
Yeah.
Competition was, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you can go there to get all your specialty goods like you would at Trader Joe's, and then you can also get everything you need for the week.
So we talked before about specialty wines or maybe baked goods and those types of things. So that was when we initially talked about how that would fit. And it seems like with the proliferation of all the grocery stores we have around here, that this would kind of fill that niche European model, buy groceries rather than a weekly basis on a daily basis. So I would hope, our hope is certainly that it meets that. The criteria for approval of special use permits is, does it meet the land use plan? Does it mitigate its traffic? Not necessarily direct competition. It deals with more of the land use factors. They are providing interparcel access to both the Chick-fil-A and Quarles, as well as potential connections near Giuseppe's. We've worked a lot with VDOT to have a unified entrance program along. There was an earlier discussion about a traffic light at the main entrance into the property. With the lesser amount of development associated with Lidl, that'll probably be a later development. So those are all factors that we've initially scrutinized quite a bit, given our similar concerns about how traffic will move across the street and up and down Washington Street. So thank you for that. So the next submission that'll come in is going to carve out the rest of that rezoning. They're simply looking for the entitlement process right now, which is a special use permit. And then, as I mentioned, later on, the site planning will come to you as a separate application. So we do expect to be able to move on that fairly quickly.
If I can add, please. I don't want to miss out on an opportunity to thank Guy for all the work that he has been doing with Marshawn. I mean, you've been doing good. Thank you so much for keep pressing on.
And one other question, in the European stores, do they know how much of their prepared food is actually like a percentage? Is it like 10%, 20%?
I'm not really sure.
Right.
And I know that in the U.S., our product line will be different. I know in the U.S., prepared foods make up a much larger percentage in the U.S. than you would see in European stores. So even if I did know, we would probably still have more.
Right. Gotcha.
European is very fresh foods, and
Okay. Further questions, comments? All right. Great. Thank you all. We look forward to
Thank you very much.
seeing more of this coming to us. Yep. All right. Now we can go back to our public hearing. This is our special use permit for 14830 Jordan Lane, SUP 2016-002.
Real quick, this is excuse me, can't talk tonight. Special use permit application for an in-home business you mentioned on Jordan Lane. The Planning Commission has recommended approval. This would be subject to the design standards and performance standards of the zoning ordinance, section 5811. We have included in the item draft motions for approval or alternative motions as you may see fit. And with me is the applicant for this proposal.
Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong, this will be the public hearing that we'll be able to, and then we'll pick it up on the agenda item?
Yes, unless you choose to dispose of it at the same time.
Okay. All right. So at this time, I guess we'll go ahead and open a public hearing for this, and anybody who'd like to speak in favor or against, this will be your opportunity. So go ahead and I guess you'd like to say anything?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm the owner of the business. I've explained it in front of the first level of the board before. But if you have any questions for me, please shoot it my way. The document should have all the information, but again, if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Sure. Go ahead, Susan.
No, I don't have any questions. I wanted to see if anyone was going to speak.
Sure. Anybody else would like to speak either in favor or opposed to the special use?
Dogs are out.
Yeah.
No. There will be no dogs barking.
Yes.
This is a home occupation.
Wait, if I could get order here. Go ahead, Marshawn.
This is a special use permit application for an in-home occupation. In this instance, the applicant bakes dog treats. There's no coincidental to the other application you're looking at, but it's strictly for a limited in-home occupation, subject to the performance standards of the zoning ordinance.
Sure. Okay. Okay, seeing that there's no one else that would like to speak, I'm going to go ahead and close our public hearing with no objection. All right. And why don't we just go ahead and take that over to our agenda item? So would be D? Yep.
D as in Charlie.
T like Charlie. We have a draft motion.
Page 27.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move that the town council approve SUP 2016-001 Zuppy LLC for an in-home occupation at 14830 Jordan Lane as described on the special use permit application dated June 17th, 2016 pursuant to section 58-536 of the zoning ordinance and subject to the development standards of section 58-16 home occupations. And I further move that the SUP shall remain in effect for a period of 1 year to renew automatically for additional periods of 1 year, but expressly conditioned upon the following. Council may require upon a majority vote after notice to the applicant for the applicant or present property owner to submit a new application for SUP, which shall be treated in all respects as a new and different application, subject to approval or disapproval in ordinance with the general principles of law for new application. If such notice is given to the applicant or present property owner, this SUP shall terminate automatically and without further notice or action by the council 60 days from giving such notice.
I'll second.
Motion been seconded by Councilman Morris. Discussion on the motion.
I do have one scrivener's error, Mr. Mayor. It should be SUP 2016-002. I apologize.
Okay.
Friendly amendment, SUP 2016-002.
Morse.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? A roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Holt. Edwards.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Casanello.
Yes.
Aiken.
Yes.
All right, great. There you go. Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Good luck. All right.
Moving on, our minutes. This would be our continuation only on September 22nd.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from our continuation meeting, September 22nd, 2016.
Second.
First and second discussion on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. All right. Our next are department reports. Our building official, the only thing I did see with his report. Jerry, maybe if we can just clarify, it says completed final inspections. This is about the third paragraph down on lots 51, no, excuse me, second paragraph down. Certificates of occupancy for single-family homes of lot 5152, but it didn't say what street that was. I'm going to assume maybe Blight, but I
It
don't know.
says blight on ours.
Oh,
Oh, it's right below it,
Oh,
too,
yeah.
in the inspections.
Okay, great. Okay. That's the only thing I had about his report. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, moving on. Our engineer's report. And we're on page now 11, page 10.
Just want to thank Holly for putting together, starting her collation of jobs.
Yeah.
It was good.
Kind of built off of actually a spreadsheet that we had in place. Wasn't that good?
It's a good start.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions for?
Yeah, I did send a couple of comments to Holly as well. One of the things I thought might be useful in here is what the estimated completion date might be for a project, so that we can kind of measure how it's going.
And I'm sure she's going to be adding more to this once they pop up and get on her radar.
Yeah, and we can modify it. It's simple enough to do. So please continue to provide any comments to it. If you have any additional information you'd like to see on it, or anything in addition in terms of timelines or details like that.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
just one question. At what level does it stop? Like, I'll give you a good example. There's a light out on Old Carolina Bridge. Is that something that you'd think she would put on it, or it's something that?
You know, I guess it would depend on how it's brought to our attention and what format. If it's a routine maintenance thing that we handle in a day or so, I don't know that would necessarily appear on it.
Okay.
If it's anything that's brought from a council member or from staff, interagency staff, I would think would be included and we track it. But simple things that are taken care of in, say, a few days, I don't see the point in tracking.
That's good.
Unless council would like to see it, I mean, we could report it.
It would be
Not
really,
necessarily.
we don't want to see the sausage making. Yep. Okay. All right. Our next item is our town planners report. Marchant, maybe you could also introduce the council to Susanna Smith here on the other side.
So we'll both stand at the podium.
Yeah.
This is Susanna Smith. She has been hired by the Berkeley Group to take over the position, actually since we started.
Yes.
So we spent the first day getting the long-winded tour of the town, the underbelly of Haymarket. The dark corners of Haymarket. So we had a good first day, and then we continue to transition. With some of the more recent admin changes, I expect I'll probably be here helping her out a little bit longer, or at least available by phone. I'm excited to have her here. I think she's already had some good insights on how to tackle some of our ongoing issues. I'll be developing with her Holly kind of showed me up on the task list. We'll get that polished off for the planning functions. So, again, glad to have her here, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Marchant. As they said, I'm short, though. I just stand on the box. I'm Susanna Smith, and yes, I work with the Berkeley Group. I'm really happy to be here. I guess stock and trade is small towns on the leading edge of growth near a municipality. I worked in South Carolina, near Charleston, near Columbia, with small towns. Also in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. I've got some decades of experience. I don't want to even say how much at this point. I love planning. I love working with communities. I'm a real one-on-one person. I look for how do we make the town work as a whole, including all the folk in it. I've got huge shoulders. I listen to folk, and I always figure, maybe I should say this, I've been surprised at how many times there actually is a positive solution that nobody knows until we get everybody together in the room and start talking together. So I'll be here Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 to 4:30 or later if necessary, and also by phone and by email. And so let me know what your concerns are. That goes for all of you citizens as well. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susanna. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So, a couple of brief items in the report. We did meet with Mike Gorman. He's the developer of the 5 houses on Blight Drive, the Oak Ridge communities. We did meet on site, talk about the installation of the vegetative screening that they had more or less proffered to do as part of the subdivision. We expect to see that within the next month or so. That'll include street trees along Blight Drive as well as the street lights. So he has raised one question about the number of oaks that he would be required to plant along Blight, but I'm working with Susanna to address that. So I was going to try to catch Matt this evening, but if you are in contact with those lots that face Harover from Dogwood Park Lane, if you could please let them know that that'll start soon. So it's not a dense screen, it's more of shrubs, understory trees, some evergreens within a 25-foot wide swath along the perimeter, but just not to be alarmed. So that's that. You may have been out to the ice rink. They're getting underway very quickly. You've already heard about Lidl. We're still continuing to review sheets, and I'm sorry I didn't have the matrix here in the site plan, but we're continuing to move forward on many of those projects. So happy to answer any questions.
Tobaccoology.
Tobaccoology, it's still in the applicant's corner. I believe John Davis was trying to coordinate a meeting with VDOT to talk about the entrance on Madison Street.
Okay.
So.
Anything on the excessive signs up by Food Lion and the temporary signs that they just...
That's why I'm working with Susanna to come up with a strategy for that. Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
So, competing signs.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, I noticed some come up on the corner as well. It looks like they might be in the right-of-way right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the leasing sign?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The Joe Gibbs event was done over the weekend, so
Right,
hopefully that'll
yes.
be put out of there quickly.
Yeah, that was tucked away nicely, but it's just the ones that are come up right next to the curb, it looks like.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Marshawn, are there any stipulations from the town as to when those remaining 3 houses should be built?
It's the needs of the market and his ability to sell them. I know the first 2 houses are still out for sale. They've been on the market almost a month. So the capital outlay he's had for improving Blight Drive and also the landscaping, I'm assuming he'll want to recoup some of his costs first before he builds the other 3.
So it's totally in his court whenever he wants to build,
Correct.
and there's nothing we can do.
What we required was the bonds and the sidewalks and all the improvements, but our 3 houses, no.
Because we're going to be going through this whole process all over again when he decides to build the remaining 3, with the truck, the traffic, all the moving of dirt, everything that's back there again. So, but I just wanted to find out if there were any stipulations.
No, I mean, they've tilled the road, and so hopefully the repaving that they do is not torn up. Most of the heavy excavating has already been done. But you're right, that hopefully that will not be damaged. The new road won't be damaged when the 3 other houses. There is a bond that they'll have to keep through the end of those 3 houses, so if there is some damage. If they don't fix it, we'll have the ability to impose that bond. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, question is, when do you think they'll pave that? Did you say that before?
I think they're waiting for the weather. The weather turned bad last week after they tilled it, so I'm probably waiting for some of it to dry out. I did hear from some of the residents along the backside, along Dogwood, that new swale that they've put in. A lot of those basements were being flooded with water coming off the hill on Harover. So a lot of them have seen a remarkable difference in terms of water flowing into that swale on the backside of the property. So,
good. Okay. Other questions from Rashawn? Okay. Anything further, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, sir.
Well, again, as I'd like to do, just to go over some of the significant events from August. The first was, I think, an event we're all aware of, and that was a suspicious event over on Track Court where 3 males chased a vehicle in the early morning. And we actually put a lot of man hours into that, particularly Officer Jason Davis, and looked at a lot of video. Had one suspect in particular in mind, did a photo lineup which proved inconclusive. So at this point, we've inactivated the case. I would hazard or make note, too, the fact that although it was kind of a disturbing incident, we struggled to even identify a crime that occurred. We contacted the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and bounced it back and forth with them. And again, although it's not behavior we want to see in town, it is also not something that was, with the facts at hand, illegal. Nonetheless, moving along, we also did our probably the first sobriety checkpoint in 2 or 3 years in the town of Haymarket, and that was through some grant funding from DMV, and it was an excellent partnership with the Sheriff's Office in Prince William and the Virginia State Police, but we coincided it with a concert at Jiffy Lube and ended up checking 451 vehicles. Of those 451, we screened 13. Of those 13, we made one arrest for driving under the influence. And those statistics are relevant in that historically the benchmarks for sobriety checkpoints were that for every 100 cars you had come through, you screened 10. And for every 10, you arrested 1. And so I think, and those numbers that I just quoted are not unique. If you look around at other sobriety checkpoints, they're finding that fewer and fewer drivers are driving intoxicated. So whatever this country is doing to address that problem, and you'd have to say in some ways it's clearly working because you don't make the numbers of arrests that you used to 10, 15, 20 years ago. The most significant incident we had in August was an abduction and domestic assault and strangulation over on Madison. And it was a relatively lengthy call that evolved over the course of an entire day. But long story short, we had a victim who fled the residence and described a set of circumstances that led to us obtaining warrants for all the above. And on attempting contact several times with the suspect, we couldn't. But finally, again, towards the end of this 24-hour period, we were able to locate him in his house. And as officers approached, they heard him manually manipulate a pistol. And so it evolved into a relatively short-term barricade. But a lot of credit to our officers, particularly Corey O'Neill and the Prince William County officers who assisted. They did some, I think, out-of-the-box thinking, contacted his grandmother who talked him out. And so we made the apprehension without any, I think, further undue requirement for SWAT teams and that kind of thing. So well done by all those men and women. And that case, by the way, is with the Commonwealth Attorney Allison and in the prosecution phase. It's going to be, again, an interesting case because, as you probably surmise, we don't typically see that kind of thing in Haymarket. So we'll watch the prosecution closely. Lastly, we did have a vehicle travel through radar on I-66 at 90 miles an hour. And on stop in the vehicle, we noticed the odor of marijuana and made a marijuana arrest off of that traffic stop. Our crashes, why every month seems to be that we magically have 3 crashes yet again. As we've had for the last 6 months, we've had 3 crashes. And as you would expect also, they are, as always, right around our construction zone on the west end of town. Again, we hope that as that project evolves and nears completion, those numbers will go down. It does appear that I guess talking to Holly, any day now, we can start expecting road closures on the western end of Washington Street as they add that lane in. I would hazard a guess, too, that that's going to contribute to maybe some more crashes, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. Summons for August rebounded, and again, men stepped up their traffic enforcement a little bit compared to the month before, but we're, I think, on target with where we want to be for this time of year. Finally, the quality of the summons we're issuing, again, as I seem to always say, is right where we want it to be. We're paying particular attention to our reduced speed zones as we're writing the vast majority of our speeding tickets. Even within those reduced speeding zones, we are still writing a significant number of reckless driving by speed, which for 25-mile-an-hour zones, to have somebody come through at 45 and above is noteworthy. And when we write 45 of those summons, that's, again, an indicator that, A, there's still a speeding problem, and B, the guys being out there, they're catching the people that we want to catch the most. A couple of other noteworthy events in terms of community relations. We actually talked about this last month, but we did have a great National Night Out on August 2nd. And I was excited to hear from none other than the Chief of Police of Prince William County that it was by far the best attended and most robust National Night Out that he attended from across the entire county. And again, personally proud of that and proud of the work the men and women did to make that happen. I'd already mentioned sobriety, the sobriety checkpoint. We also received 2 awards for occupant restraint safety during DMV's grant workshop on August 23rd, and that was part of the Click and Ticket program. And we did pre-program and post-program surveys, and we demonstrated the greatest improvement over that period. And as part of that greatest improvement, we had the highest use of seat belts of any jurisdiction that entered the effort. We also participated in the grand opening of Chick-fil-A. Enough said on that. And then finally, I participated in a listening tour that the Department of Criminal Justice Services and Public Safety Secretary Moran hosted on August 29th. And it was actually an excellent opportunity to give them feedback on a local level on a variety of issues, from how they manage training records to how they issue grant funding and a whole host of other things. And sometimes those may seem like they're for show and nothing else, but point in fact, DCJS just sent out a memo altering the way that they give us credit for training hours, which was exactly what chiefs and sheriffs and others were complaining about in those forums. So they heard what we had to say, and they listened and they acted. And I tell you, I, for one, very much appreciated that. Lastly, as part of my attendance to the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police, I had a chance to meet with representatives from Ford. And as our interim town manager has suggested, there are programs out there to lease cruisers. And he was as blunt can be. And he said that he does not understand why any agency buys cruisers and doesn't lease them. He says it is a great way to spread the costs over several to 5 fiscal years. He says there's no additional cost associated with that. And at the end of the program, you buy the car for $1. And so we talked some more, particularly surrounding how the vehicles are equipped. As you know, we custom paint our cruisers, and how that would occur within the context of the lease. And really, it is a complete turnkey solution. You tell them what you want done to the car, you tell them what you want in the car, they all wrap that up in a lease and then give you the car. So I'm actually, again, still in communication with them. We're putting together the same equipment that we have in our newest cruiser, and I'll send that down to him, see what the leases look like, present it to you as a council, and you let me know what you think. I would also note, and this was a discussion that the mayor and I had, again, speaking about capital equipment, we talked about possibly deploying our radar trailer. And I've asked one of our officers who works with that piece of equipment to try to get it up and running. He's a little bit dubious that it is going to run. And apparently the entire system that keeps that charged, which is solar-based, is not functioning anymore. So we can hook it up to a battery or a power outlet and give it a charge that will hold about 24 hours, and after that it will die and it won't be much use. And so if we're looking at capital expenditures, that might be one that we'd want to consider rather sooner than later. Finally, I would also be remiss if I didn't give a little bit of a job well done to our officer, Greg Breeden. And his vehicle earlier this month has suffered a catastrophic failure. It just died, and it wouldn't start. And so we had Piedmont come over, and they ran on the side of the road a scanner and indicated that the computer, the brain of the vehicle, had gone bad. So we had it towed to Piedmont, and the initial estimate to get that fixed was $1,154. And Officer Breeden stepped up and said, hey, wait a minute, I think there's a better way to do this. I think there's another option. And in fact, Piedmont went down that road, and in the end of it, we got the vehicle fixed for $510. And, you know, a lot of officers could have cared less. It's not their money. and may have been happy with whatever Piedmont was going to do to repair that vehicle, rightfully so. But he took a little bit of initiative and demonstrated a little concern about the town's budget, and again came back with something that was less than half of what was originally estimated. So again, I like to mention him publicly for that, because that's exactly what you want to have a town employee.
Yep, absolutely.
With that,
you're open for questions. All right, we'll go around the side here.
Chief, on the sobriety checkpoint, you said 4 additional summons were done. Were those like expired tags or something, just so totally different from the sobriety
Yes.
checkpoint?
Yes.
Okay.
I think most of them were actually driving suspended.
Okay, but I mean, things you found just by stopping them. All right, thank you.
Yes. So if I got this right, you did a 10% sample? Is that what you did for your sobriety checkpoint?
Typically,
Is it about a 1%?
typically you want to do a supplemental screening of 10% of the vehicles that come through, and of that 10%, you want and that's historical. That's sort of a historical benchmark, and it's what we used 20, 25 years ago. But universally, you just don't see those numbers anymore, which again you have to applaud.
Right. That's good policing. So the issue related to the construction that's continuing and that's going to get worse, is VDOT putting any signs out to warn people of delays? Do we know of anything?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Maybe that would be something we could have Holly check into, and perhaps put these signs further out by Cad Harpin, maybe use Heathcote for the time being until the construction is.
And the word that I received last week was any day. So
The commercial, any day now. Yeah. And one more thing. I like the concept of the lease. That sounds very encouraging, and we should certainly explore it. The question is, did you discuss terms, length of the lease or anything? You didn't get
it's
into-
variable.
It is variable.
Typically, they run from 3 to 5 years,
3 to 5,
depending
okay.
on how the particular jurisdiction wants to spread it out. And of course, because you are dealing with a tax-exempt entity, the terms are very, very favorable.
So then what's the useful life of a vehicle? No, I'm only kidding.
Well,
Yeah, this is-
again, if it's a good vehicle.
Exactly.
And our oldest vehicle is a good vehicle. It's been in the fleet now for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty darn good.
That is very good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Councilman Leake? Okay.
No
Councilman
questions.
Edwards? Cole? Councilman Morse?
I just wanted to go on the whole lease thing again. It's like, wow, can we check with them and see if there's any way they could, not just the lease, but or do they have any programs that would give us at a lower rate?
Oh, I think that's one of the selling points is that the rates are extremely favorable for tax-exempt municipalities.
Good.
Yeah.
Ford for many years has been very police-friendly.
Good. All right. No further questions? Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Next up, Denise Andrews.
Build American tough.
Right?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Town Council as well as the other boards, staff, and volunteers for a great, successful Haymarket Day this year. We had over 25,000 in attendance, our largest Haymarket Day to date, and we are just going to build upon that for next year. I wanted to read 3 comments. I've included a lot of the comments that we received, town staff received after Haymarket Day, but there's 3 that I would like to read tonight to council. The first one is from Kim Freeze of Freeze Bullying for Peyton. It was a fantastic day for Peyton's project. We were very excited to have talked with over 1,000 people and touched so many with our cause. Thank you so much for fitting us in at the last minute. Mercedes Jacobs with 3 Ways Beautiful Salon and Spa. This was our first time participating since we are new. It was so well organized and everything went so smoothly. You have some wonderful volunteers that were very helpful. Thank you so much for having us. We were able to raise money for childhood cancer awareness, and for that we are thankful. The last comment I'm going to read tonight is from one of our town businesses, Esther Boykin, CEO of Group Therapy and Associates. Thank you both for an amazing event. I haven't done Haymarket Day since the town took it over a few years ago, and I just want you to know how much I enjoyed it again. You and all your volunteers did a wonderful job.
That's great.
And I'll take any questions from council at this time.
Councilman Aiken, Fasenello, any questions?
No, I do.
Councilman Lee?
Just a quick question about the monies.
Yes.
So we collected a significant amount of money in vendor booth fees.
Yes, we did.
Right. And then
36,000.
the question of the sponsorship funds, is that for all 4 events? Were some of them just?
That was what was allocated from, there's only 2 sponsors that are actually 3 sponsors that sponsor all 4 events, and that is Novant Health, UVA Health System, Wegmans, and the Fauquier Bank. So portions of those 3 were allocated just for Haymarket Day, and then the other sponsors were just for Haymarket Day.
So if I did my math right, we have some monies left over for other events.
Yes, we still have money that's been allocated for the holiday event in December, and I'm waiting to get the numbers back from staff on the PD and the overtime for staff, and then I'll have the correct number.
Great, thank you.
Further questions? John? Chris? Sir. We're good. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, now going down through our agenda items, obviously we've taken care of item A and item B, and that brings us to item C, which we've done. Item D.
Mr. Mayor, could we skip to item E real quick? I found a scrivener's error I need to fix real quick.
Sure, absolutely.
Be right back.
And so we're on item E, which is page. Yep.
Page 44, I think, Mayor. 44
Okay.
start.
All right, everybody on it?
Yep.
Page 45, we have a draft motion.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll move to release the J.P. Morgan Chase Bank letter of credit issued on behalf of D.R. Horton for the benefit of the town of Haymarket for erosion and sediment control required by Sherwood Forest final site plan in the amount of $30,711. I further move to release the J.P. Morgan Chase Bank letter of credit issued on behalf of D.R. Horton for the benefit of the town of Haymarket for landscaping improvements required by Sherwood Forest final site plan in the amount of $17,290.
Motion's on the floor.
I second.
Second by Councilman Leak. Discussion on the motion.
Has the road, the last time I walked through there, the road hasn't been fixed, but I assume that has been fixed. Meaning, they always leave the road for last. I've seen it in various different communities where they would put the last touch of asphalt up to the level of the culverts and also to the level of the sidewalk.
We have additional bonding in place, I believe, for the road improvements that's separate from these, yes.
Okay, because I would hate to know that we're here releasing this and the
No.
residents are suffering because of the bad condition of the road.
No, the road improvements are under a separate bond.
I think that bullet point, the last bullet point on the background, they would not be requested to release the construction performance until it passes the VDOT inspection of street, so.
Correct.
I think that's where we caught that. Further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Cole. Edwards.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Passanello.
Yes.
Aiken.
Yes.
All right, great. Okay. How are we doing, Marchant? Do you want us to buy some more time? Okay.
Do need to distribute just a quick revision to you. So I'll talk this through while I prepare these to hand them out to you. So this is, as you know, is the rezoning. You heard this application in, I believe, July. It proposes to rezone just under an acre from our town zoning district of R1 to B1. Through the negotiation with the applicant and the planning commission, the applicant subsequently provided a proffer statement excluding several uses that generally the commission felt would not be compatible with the adjacent residential and commercial uses. So the proffer statement that you've been passed out was revised to clarify those prohibited uses. That's proffer 1.2. So also included in your packet is a rezoning plat and also a conceptual layout. And what that conceptual layout does is, again, orients the building in such a way as the proposed use would have the minimal amount of impact as it can on adjacent owners. So. So for the members of the public that are here and the members that might be watching at home, what I passed out was a revised proffer statement dated October 3rd. And again, what that document did was to better define or clarify the prohibited uses that they've agreed to limit on the subject property. So the applicant is here tonight along with the contract or the owner that owns the property, and be happy to answer any questions that you have. This is simply the rezoning. There's still a site planning process that they'll have to go through that will require frontage improvements, curb and gutter, sidewalks along their frontage. Again, be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Marchant, it looks like the changes in paragraph 1.1, the conformance with plan that you've added, that it shall be developed in general conformance with the attachments, and you list them there, whereas 1.1 that we got earlier, just list sheet 2, you now have rezoning sheet 1, dated 4/2016, and conceptual layout sheet 2, same date. Is that the sole change that you've made here?
Yes, sir, that as well. That was the proffer statement that's in the packet, referenced those sheets.
Yes.
The amended proffer statement had that out. I just fixed that to make sure we're referencing the right sheet.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay. Councilman Cole.
So the Planning Commission forwarded this with a recommendation to approve. My concern is that this is a transitional zone. And we developed a transitional zone for a reason in the town, and that was to ease off on hard business before you got to the residential areas. And we're kind of asking to do away with that, with this. And I'm wondering, what did the Planning Commission, how did they argue that, and how did they then come to the conclusion that that was okay?
They looked at several factors. One was by the prohibition that I just looked at, saying that the transition zone, what sort of uses in the transition district that are differentiating from the B1 district. And those are the just listed uses: the banquet drive-through, pharmacies, dry cleaning, shoe repair, service stations. And so they resolved that issue by the applicant agreeing to exclude many of those uses. The traffic estimates of this project were estimated to be less than the office and other retail uses that would be allowed on the property. So again, by committing to this use and limiting other uses on the property, they felt it would be equivalent to what would otherwise be allowed in a transitional commercial zoning district. So does that answer your question?
So if this goes through, and we have a proffer that says they're not going to do those sorts of things, what if the property is sold?
Proffers by the Code of Virginia run with the land. So whoever controls that property would have to adhere to those proffers or ask for an amendment, which would require a rehearing process and for you to look at the nature of those changes.
For how long do they stay with the property? Forever?
Runs with the land until it's amended by an action of the council.
So would a kennel be allowed?
What's that?
Would a kennel be allowed?
Not by the definition as we currently define it in the codified ordinance.
So what would make the difference if a pet does stay overnight, the difference of a kennel versus?
So I made a judgment call as a zoning administrator. This is more an operation of a personal services uses. While there may be limited instances of a stay or a boarding, it's primarily more of a service use, similar to what we define as a pet shop or a dog parlor. And so the nature of the use, the turnover, the personal services that are put as part of it, doesn't have any breeding, doesn't have any sale, doesn't have any other elements that are typically part of a kennel use. Doesn't require a kennel permit. I looked at other jurisdictions that allow this use that don't require a kennel permit as part of it. And so for all those evaluations, I made the determination that it more closely aligned with the dog parlor and dog parlor use.
And if there was an overnight stay by an animal that's indoors?
Correct. So part of the definition, correct.
Outside.
Correct. So.
Probably made more of the use like a veterinarian clinic then, where a dog could stay overnight in a vet, which we do have. But yet
Vet clinics we do allow in the B1 and the I1 zoning districts. Those do have a kennel component.
Right.
But again, the personal service nature of how this operates, I wouldn't say it, I don't want to make the analogy of necessarily a child care center, but it's more or less a care center for animals during the day. So, and based on my evaluation, the materials that were submitted and some of the research that was done with other facilities, it was more appropriately assigned as a dog parlor use. So, but yes, they do have the ability to where if they wanted to board one or two of their customers, they'd have the ability to do so.
But obviously, that would never be monitored or inspected, or, I mean.
It would all, with most of the zoning in town, and we don't proactively enforce it, it is complaint-based. And so, given the acoustics that they've agreed to, or their design features that they've agreed to, if the use is not operating in the manner it's been limited, then they can report that violation, and we'll go through enforcement action. So,
other questions?
Yeah, I took a look at the, what is that, the K13, the sprayed-on acoustical and thermal insulation. That seems to work extremely well. I've seen some applications as well in other locations. My question is about the windows. Are they going to be at the same type of level of acoustics? Do you know? Do you have a sense of that?
And, would you mind coming up to the microphone? I'm sorry.
Thank you. I mean, at this point in time, we don't have a final plan of what the structure is going to look like. We'll have to go through the ARB to get that done. But the conceptual building that we have has the windows at the top of the structure, not at walking by level. And they'll be, as soundproof as we can get. They would be as code of what you put in a new home.
Okay. So, another question. So we're talking, they're outside in that area, which is, I think it was a good idea to reorient it towards the real estate company, right? Is that what you did with the property, I think? So
they agreed to orient it toward JB3 and Giuseppe's.
Right, so you have, almost like a 1,200 square foot play area for the dogs, and that's going to be limited to a number of dogs each time, like no more than 15 or whatever the number is. I thought I might have heard at the planning. So that's good. So that means no dogs outside between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. Okay. All righty. How many employees are you going to have working at any one time?
I'm sorry to make you keep going up to the mic. I'm sorry.
Sorry to ask these questions, but I just need to understand it.
Depending on the season, because there are areas during the calendar year where there's higher use for this type of service, anywhere from 7 to 12 employees.
7 to 12. 7 to 12 employees. And is there any thought to, I get the idea of the drop-off and pickup. It's almost like going to middle school. Any idea about doing some type of a shuttle to pick up from customers so you can reduce the number of cars coming in and out of the street?
Yeah, other locations have invoked a pet taxi service where they would go and pick up the dog, the client, as long as they are an existing client that's been approved, take them to the location, and then if they need to take them home, they would do that as well. I mean, we're in the traffic area that we live in Northern Virginia and coming down 66 West, sometimes people just can't make it before the doors close at 7 p.m. at night, so we offer that service. It will probably more be a small school bus type of thing when we've made enough money to be able to afford to put something like that in place, but we'll probably use our personal vehicles to do that initially.
Okay, and deliveries. What's the expectation on deliveries? Loading dock, you don't have anything like that in the structure, do you?
We don't have a loading dock on the current plan, but the types of deliveries we would be receiving is dog food, you know, where they come in very large quality, or cleaning products.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Probably on a monthly basis, but not regular, you know, on a daily.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions?
Yes.
Councilman Morse.
Thank you. Marshawn, in looking at rezoning R1 to B1, what's going to happen when another neighbor wants this favor?
Let's put an example, say across the street, and Brian Garcia's here. If Brian wants to change his zoning.
Then I think you would apply the same evaluation which you did here, is what are the limits on uses, self-imposed limits on uses, what is the character of the area, what is the status of the road at the time. All that you would provide a similar evaluation. So if your concerns in terms of precedent, in my opinion, having these limitations run with the land will require a similar evaluation for other properties in the future. Now, other properties on the part of the street are already zoned commercial, so I do not believe.
Not directly across.
No, Garcia's property right now is R1, but the one house on the corner is commercial already. So. I'm sorry, did that answer your question? So yes, if you're concerned about a precedent, then I would expect that you and the Planning Commission would apply a similar approach to evaluating it.
But it does not put the council in a good position if we set that bad precedent from the get-go. And I think it's our responsibility to protect ourselves from incidents where it's hard to go back to the precedent that we may vote on or agree to for this case.
Again, that's the evaluation of the council. If they feel that if this application has done enough to address the issues that were brought up through the process, then I would expect you would support it. If you don't feel it's appropriately addressed the issues, or you don't have support for it out of those concerns, then I would expect the council wouldn't support that.
I'd like to hear from maybe Martin, just on that one concern about precedent.
With regard to precedent?
Yeah.
Well, Mayor and Council, the issue there is always that each property is somewhat unique, but also very similar to the adjacent properties in particular. And to the extent that you do an individual analysis, as Marshawn says, you're looking to see whether those particular impacts are going to be mitigated. So here you have a proffered plan that shows the conceptual layout. You know the approximate square footage of the area. You know how many parking spaces are going to be. So you've got an idea about exactly what those impacts are going to be. And if you had a similar application that had similar number of parking spaces, similar square footage, similar traffic patterns, you'd be hard-pressed to say no to that. But if you had a completely different application with a different traffic pattern, different times of day that the peak traffic was in, then those factors could very well lead you to make a different decision on that other application.
The other determining factor, too, is these lots are planned transitional commercial. So whether it be a B1 or a limited in use or the TC district, which we have yet to have anyone implement, there's not really been an incentive. It is anticipated that some level of commercial development is going to be some point developed on that property unless the council decides to change the land use plan. So I think that's when the applicant, never mind, I'm putting justification, but there is some level of commercial development that's already anticipated by our plan that's been on the books since about 2008. So,
okay, Councilwoman Edwards.
I think I just have more of a a set of comments. I feel that this council and previous councils and staff spent a lengthy amount of time in addressing all the zoning issues in town and setting up the new zones. And although they have been very good about addressing all the issues, the fact is we implemented these zonings for a reason. And I truly believe that we need to stick to that. It's a very slippery slope. You start here, then it's on this end of town, then it's over here. There's plenty of property in this town that's zoned properly for the use. And that's just my opinion.
Any questions?
Yeah, just, if I may, just, I want to understand the transitional commercial here on Fayette. So if I'm looking at this right, the property that Doggy Daycare wants to get the SUP on, or the owner wants to get the SUP, I guess.
The rezoning, yes.
The rezoning, thank you. Then there are additional properties to the north of that are in the transitional commercial as well?
Correct. Those lots down to Sherwood Forest on the west side of Fayette and several lots on the east side of Fayette are designated by our land use plan as transitional commercial. We also have a zoning district that's called transitional commercial that was meant to implement that land use plan. So a level of low-intensity development is expected,
right,
and folks to come in and rezone to a commercial district is anticipated, right, given the current plan.
And I guess the definition or the intent of transitional commercial is, like you said earlier, a buffer.
Transition between residential and higher intensity commercial uses along
Right.
Washington.
And what would you define as high intensity versus a doggy daycare?
Similar to those that they've proffered out, the pharmacies,
For a lot of traffic.
convenience retail. It alarms me that we allow, in B1 we allow service stations. This TC district allows personal service, smaller kind of personal services, office, antique shops, those types of uses that are meant to be, again, more transitional in nature. So,
Okay. All right, thank you.
If this were a daycare facility, would that apply?
what's that?
If this were a daycare facility, would that apply?
The TC district allows private schools. And also, I would have to, and I believe R1 right now allows childcare facilities. So there are some other uses that are either currently allowed by R1 by right, or other uses that would be allowed by TC or B1 that may be similar in form and function to what this use is attempting to be. So,
what do you see as risks?
what's that?
What do you see? I mean, all of this is really talking, as our council said, this is risk mitigation, and they've worked hard to minimize as much as they can that risk. You've been rather positive on this. What are the negatives that you see?
Well, the potential negatives we've talked about or addressed through the process has been the noise, outdoor noise of barking dogs. And so as much as they've oriented the building and done some other mitigation, there's always the potential that one dog may get astray and bark loudly, or a group of dogs may bark loudly. Traffic can be somewhat subjective, and there were some folks think 5 cars at an intersection is traffic, while others may say only 2 cars are out of traffic. But given the volumes that we have on Washington Street today, and likely in the next 2 to 3 years, there may be some interim backup of cars on the street if the drop-off hours here happen to coincide with our high traffic volumes on Washington Street. So there may be some backup or queuing on Fayette Street. Being closer to the intersection than some of the other lots, that may reduce that impact, although it might be an inconvenience to the residential folks that are trying to get out of there at a relatively quick pace. The noise we talked about, the traffic we've talked about, other potential, just in terms of screening, how close uses are. I think with them looking at a 1-story building would be more in keeping with 1- and 2-story houses that you see around it. But I think the Architectural Review Board will hopefully be able to negotiate a design that matches both what we see on Washington and the neighbors that are around it, so that's compatible. If we didn't have that provision in there, I think that would be a concern.
That's not going to be necessarily easy.
What's that?
No, I'm just saying that.
Yep. And they understand that's another element that they have to go through.
So,
and this isn't a thing decided. They still have to go through site planning and everything else.
So let me just say, if it was a daycare facility or something else that is listed, would that be a by right?
Yes, sir, which would only require site plans from the Planning Commission and the Town Council.
If I can just add, can a transitional commercial zoned property bring the same amount of traffic as the potential of this B1?
As it's limited, yes. If it wasn't limited, I would say no, that the B1 would be much more traffic intensive than the TC district.
Because I'm trying to understand and relate the residents and the complaints from the residents with traffic, and I don't know if that if that holds any water, really, because the rest of the street is TC. So the rest of the street could still bring in the same amount of traffic that this change from R1 to B1 would bring in.
Correct. When I say by right, each of those lots would have to be rezoned to B1. That would require a public hearing process, and you would, again, have the opportunity to comment on traffic impacts and other impacts that are there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but can a TC still go ahead and have the parking lots, or would it have to be rezoned?
Right now, R1, the only commercial uses that R1 allows are churches and schools. Other than that, they're mostly residential uses. TC, so that's what can be built out there today.
Just on that lot?
On those lots. All those lots that are designated transitional commercial right now by our land use plan, right now are all R1. Any of those lots that want to convert to other commercial uses are going to have to go through the rezoning process to get that entitlement. And there's a number of commercial uses allowed either in TC or B1 that will have a traffic impact on the road. And that's kind of the challenge. Having the designation of a commercial planned land use along that street implies that some level of commercial use. And so having the ability through each rezoning to condition it and to limit it and talk about compatibility will hopefully address the capacity of the road.
Right.
Councilman Aiken.
I just want to clarify that I think there's been a little confusion here that all the lots there are currently zoned R1 residential, but the planned land use that went through council and planning commission years ago has them designated as this transitional business area. So the plan all along was to allow some sort of limited business there, not full heavy-duty business, to transition to the residential stuff. So, and I think Marchant makes a good point that since everything has to be rezoned, that gives us an opportunity to limit what's there, so that each time it gets rezoned, that we can hopefully limit it to something that fits into that area.
Yeah.
If that makes more sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
And therefore, it has been planned for, it has been looked at before, because our zoning has been really haphazard in the past. And this land use plan was put in place to try to stabilize it.
Yep. Councilwoman Edwards, I know you're...
It's just, this use is not transitional business. They're asking for B1. So we put that zoning in there for a purpose.
There is no transitional...
I know, but...
There is no...
To me, that's more traffic than a transitional business would do. That's...
Well, then we have to determine what is a transitional business. I mean, they've tried to do this by limiting all these things out of it, that you can't do all these things, which has traffic coming in every hour of the day, traffic in and out. And this is tried to limit it to traffic in the morning, traffic in the evening. And there's not much traffic the rest of the day. I mean, how do you get any better than that? How do you get
I
better
know,
than
I
that
just don't-
with a business?
I think that you can theoretically say we're going to try and limit our traffic, but realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. Someone's going to say, well, I go to work at 10 o'clock until here, so I'm going to be here, and
Well, and that's a valid point. Then we should amend the land use policy to back to R1, to residential, and never change it. But that's not what was done. We
had
as
a
a town,
vision.
we have encouraged people to do business in these areas. That's
to
what I'm
me,
saying.
this is not a good fit for this
Okay,
area.
and that's all right. That's what we're here to discuss.
Right.
Further discussion?
It just seemed as if from what we put in place, that this is the reason why it is zoned TC as a transition.
Well, it's not zone TC, it's land use.
Land use, the land use
Yes.
is TC.
Yes,
I think,
that's true.
But, so the purpose for us even putting in and having it zoned TC is to have business on that street.
That was the original intent years ago. Now, if we want to change it, we can change it. But that was the intent that a lot of effort went into in analysis to say this makes sense overall for the town. And that's what we have to decide, whether or not that still fits.
Well, it sounds like we have a lot of concerns here. But at the end of the day, we have an application in front of us. We have, I believe, a draft motion as well.
Mr. Mayor, if you were to move the draft motion for approval, I would just suggest that the motion be amended to reference the date of today's proffer statement, which is October 3rd.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion so that we can get it on the table and discuss and vote on it, whether up or down. We need to give some closure here. I move that the town council approve the ZTA 2016-0602 application to amend the zoning map, 6680 Fayette Street, subject to the proffer statement dated October 3rd, 2016.
I'll second.
Motion's been entered and seconded. Now for the discussion. Why don't we just go around the dais there, make it easier? Any discussion on the motion?
I think I've basically said, this is our vision. Our vision is to have certain types of business on that street. I totally can understand why the residents would be in objection to this. I think if I lived on that street, I probably would be. But when I look at the overall vision of the area and that street, this is the direction that the council, whether it is our previous councils have, this is the direction they were going in having transitional business in that street. So I can understand, and I appreciate the fact that the owners of this business, they've taken the time out, and you spent a lot of time in trying to address the needs of the community. I would only encourage you at this point in time to reach out to the community members there and try to see if you can even further meet some demands that they may have. Because you're going to have a fight. If this goes through and if this is approved, be ready to get phone calls, or even for us, the town and our local police, to get phone calls. It will happen. So you guys don't think that getting this approved and gone through the proper channels that your fight is over. And I think it's your responsibility to reach out to the community to try to bridge that gap in trying to sell this idea more to them. So, thank you, sir.
Any further comments on the motion?
I was concerned about some of the items and mitigating the risks, and I thought the dogs were going to be allowed to run pretty much the open part of the property, so seeing the site plan where they're limited between the buildings to a certain space. You're going to have clients that have barkers, and they may be the ones that you have to control more than others. But I think knowing that if you could put a school or a daycare center by right here, I don't see any real change in impact between a school and a dog care facility. by way of noise and size and everything else. So we would be hard-pressed to say no to a school or a daycare center, and it would, the reasoning would not work out the same way. So you know, and I have been on those councils where we came up with this transitional zone. So it is going to, it may actually limit us in the future. But there again, current uses by right, I don't see are much different than what this is.
Councilwoman Edwards?
No, I just
Further?
don't have anything to say.
Councilman Lee?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Passanello?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for going through a lot of work. I think a lot of the issues have been mitigated, and I think we just need to vote, so thank you.
Councilman Aiken?
I've had my say.
Okay. Denise, we have a roll call, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Edwards.
No.
Leak.
Yes.
Passanello.
Yes.
Aiken.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, moving on. Yep, I think we're ready for our council member time.
Where's my paper? I had something to say.
Councilman Cole.
I've got a couple of items. One is a question to Vice Mayor Passanello. What's the status on the power lines?
Nothing new yet.
When
We're
are you
waiting.
expecting something?
Well, I believe the hearing officer is still considering DVP's request to reboot. And I haven't seen anything, but I'd be honest with you, I haven't been on the website in a few weeks, so I'll go back and check it, and I'll drop everybody a line if there's any changes. But I haven't heard of anything. I haven't seen anything in the the coalition's emails. I haven't heard anything from Mr. Napoli, so I'm assuming right now nothing has changed.
So we don't know when to expect resolution. Okay. My other item is food pantry. Now, I know you guys talked about this. I know you came up with a decision. I know you came up with a reason. I don't want to change any of the reasons. I don't want to change anything else. All I want to know is if we're not going to put a shovel to the ground in that place for 8 to 12 months.
We have some update for that, so I'll, if you could, yeah, we will, so
Okay.
we'll update you.
Then
I think Mike,
I'll hold
make
my
that,
comments.
yeah, there you go. You might.
And if you don't
for the-
like the update, you can state your comment.
Yeah, that's right.
I
All
will,
right.
for the good of the council, I will hold it.
All right, great. Councilwoman Edwards.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Councilman Aiken.
This may be the last official meeting we have that Marchant attends.
Oh, I thought you were
Oh,
resigning.
yeah, right. We're waiting
I thought you
for a
were
bombshell. It's like,
resigning.
no.
I just wanted to thank him for his time.
Oh,
here,
absolutely.
And his professionalism, and he is one of the hardest working part-timers we have.
He's
and
Army,
just
what you
has done
expect?
a wonderful job. I've known him for a long time since I've been here, and I'm going to be sad to see him go.
Well, maybe we'll get him on a commission or a council in the future.
That is a definite possibility.
But do you have anything else to add? Because
No,
I want
that was-
to.
I just wanted to mention that and say, thank you, Marchant, wherever you are.
Well, I think I want to piggyback on that, and I thank you for raising that, Steve, because I think we should recognize Marchant at our next meeting.
Yep,
I think
absolutely.
that would be well worth it. You know, he's done a lot of work, and I agree with you, Steve. So I just have a couple minor things, actually one minor thing. I was crossing 15 the other day from Walmart, and Jerry, I'm wondering if we could get a hold of VDOT. I just thought of it. When you're coming from west to east, the crossing sign is kind of tilted towards 15, and you can't see it. So it needs to be reoriented. Maybe a truck hit it or something. Sometimes they do. And at 15 and Washington Street, it's on the east side of 15.
I'll walk into Walmart.
Sorry?
I said stop walking to Walmart.
Drive like everyone else does.
I thought we were walking town.
Every time you cross that street, you're taking your life in your hands.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be done soon. Yeah, Anything new on the blight? I'm very concerned about this property across the street, the Blue House. If we're making any progress, I'd like to really keep pushing that issue. It's really time for us to get this industrial use out of the area from the middle of a more commercial zone and start doing something with that property. So I have a concern about that. So thank you, guys.
Okay, Councilman Morse.
Thank you, sir. The last council meeting, in council member time, I had made a request to put on the agenda the consideration of the food pantry. And there has been some more developments with them. They have subsequently signed a lease with another property and have started, actually, they are just about to start paying their new lease. And I've pledged my support to them with the move, but one of the things I would really like to use my council member time is to ask us council members to be cognizant of the fact they may need a month or maybe just a short time just to move their things out. They're trying to move before the Christmas rush, but they are in the process of moving. And with my conversation today, I basically asked them, should I push to have this on as an agenda item? And the comment that came back was, no, we are going to be moving. So I just wanted to update my fellow council members with that they are moving.
Do we know where they're moving? Do we have an address? Is it within town?
I don't think so. They said Ruritan Building, but I don't think that's in town.
Ruritan's
in town.
building.
Where?
Is that that's not the Moose, I mean.
No.
No, that's the Masons.
Yeah. I'm not
I'll get
sure.
the address. I'll get the address so we can.
Well, that's great. So, and this
Yeah,
is something
really
they've
good
obviously
move.
executed in their, so the food and.
But just for the record, I was ready to go to battle for them just to get some extension because what they're doing, and this season is really important for them because if they didn't find a place, they would need there at the Harover property to conduct and help all those families that they help so well during the Christmas season. So I don't need to do that right now, but I thank you guys for listening to me last week on it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Get a corollary.
Okay, yeah. Go back to you, sir. Yeah.
So, that being said, we haven't really, in a working session, we talked about improvements to this building and doing those first, and that would delay the park. I think we ought to make an official decision. Are we going to do the park first and then do this building? Are we going to do this building, do the park? Are we going to do both? Because now that they're out, there's no reason why we should not move forward unless we make an official declaration that we're going to fix this building first. So,
I think we need a meeting for this. I think we'll we'll set a meeting that will just specifically put our vision as we come up in the past. I think we all agreed that we were going to move forward. We just need to find out that funding. Of course, my push for food preparated sales would be a funding source, but of course that's
It depends.
17, 18, yeah.
Depends on if the food is prepared in Europe.
Yep.
You can't have
That's
it.
true. Yeah, we have to maybe put that there. But yeah, so we'll have a separate meeting for that, and that way we can find out what low-hanging fruit, as Marchand always said, that we could possibly do immediately. I reached out to Fauquier to find out the northern park, to find out what those pavilions and shelters are cost to possibly do that. So, and of course, we need the shed taken down. Scale back the building. We need to move our things that we're paying for storage to be able to put in there, save the money from over there. Yeah, so, yep, okay. Vice Mayor, any other further comments? Nope, okay. Councilman Leak.
There was not an ARB or PC update I noticed on the agenda, but there is no update. I want to thank staff for their hard work over these past couple weeks. I know that we've been doing some transitioning, and I just wanted to thank staff and everyone for their hard work, as well as just go back to Haymarket Day, how smoothly Haymarket Day had went, and seeing all the comments that have come in from different businesses as well as residents, just on how well and how smooth it ran. We can't thank staff enough, as well as all of our volunteers for their hard work and dedication. In regards to the food pantry, and Mr. Morris, in regards to a month or two extension if needed, as long as we could see a lease, as long as I could see a lease in hand, signed, showing their move-in date, it's something that I'd be open to and talking about. But the one thing that I do not want to see happen is we give them that month or two, and then they need another month or two and another month or two. Going forward, I agree with Councilmember Cole and Mayor Leak. We need to set a work session play, and we need to start talking about this funding, whether we're going to be borrowing it or what we're going to do with the phases. I know that we were waiting on some of the, I believe, site plans to be finished up. At the last work session, we directed the engineer to go forward with those, so we want to make sure that those are on a timely track, as well as where we're going to get the money from, but we need to pull the trigger instead of just continuously talking about it.
All right. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I just slide in one quick one?
Sure.
In the absence of the person that we have doing the invocation, can I request that we still do an invocation?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking back, I guess I should have reached out to the dais to do that. My mistake on that.
Thank you, sir.
What we did forget is on our department reports, of course, I think this is the second month in a row, but our interim manager. So, yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I know he didn't do that. Yeah, it's been these couple weeks here.
It's a thankless job, isn't it, Jerry?
Actually, it's been hard to believe, close to 2 months.
Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah,
yeah. I kind of summarized it in thinking what to say. I mean, major broad topics, HR, of course, with the staffing realignments and backfilling some of the staff with interim employees. In terms of the operations, the leases, I've been revamped some of those recently. Martin and I looked at some language in some of the existing leases. We put together a spreadsheet that updated leases, the lease cost, what the specific conditions to the leases are, and that updated that spreadsheet, and I sent all this out a while back. I've revamped some financial reports for the Finance Committee, kind of came up with a little different format for year-to-date expenditures and cash flow reports. It's in my mind, it's a little easier to follow. I'll leave it to the Finance Committee if they feel the same way. We really haven't had an opportunity to meet on it yet. They're pointing at each other over this. In terms of budget, am monitoring cash flow pretty closely. Now can access the bank and find out exactly what we have in the bank, and both banks, and also with the state investment pool. So pretty good handle on where we are in terms of finances, and we actually put together some spreadsheets that show monthly expenses to revenue as accurately as we can, but the way the municipal government works in terms of expenditures, they don't always come on an even keel. So we get some hits at the early part of the fiscal year or later on in the fiscal year that really kind of alters that. But I think I have a pretty good feel for the cash flow now and some of the capital programs that I know you want to look at. So we can at least be in a condition or in a position where we can make some fairly good recommendations in those regards. Been helping with the recruitment for my position.
Yeah.
I've advertised that.
In two places.
Two places. And we have received some new resumes. Also advertised the clerk treasurer's position, and I've received a few resumes on those as well. So at the council's discretion, you might want to schedule a meeting to go through some of those resumes that we have received. Blight did issue a letter on the property across the street. Actually met with Marchant and Susanna today. Susanna actually had DMV out there today with some of the uses that are going on over there, which I don't think we were even aware that some of the car dealership, I know that everyone knew there was one, but there's a second one apparently going on. In I suspect it's mostly internet sales, and they're using this address as the physical location to meet DMV and requirements for car dealership or car sales. I know from past experience the DMV is pretty strict about that sort of thing, and if they have an opportunity to pull some of the license that they have, they'll do so. I guess Reed did. I sent some of the job descriptions. Took a look at some of the job descriptions that we had here, and actually found that the job descriptions are not bad. We made a few changes. Of course, there will be some additional modifications as we change out some of the staffing and also reassign some of the duties previously assigned to certain positions. I think that's generally what I've been doing. Is there any questions?
I know also to add to it, we've got both spaces advertised for lease.
Right.
Right.
And we
so
did
there's-
have one new tenant move in since I've been here.
Yes, correct. They came in just about a week ago.
About a week ago.
Right.
Were you going to mention the thing about the food vendor out here for the?
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me about that, too. Also reached out to a couple of the municipalities. The town of Dumfries will be sharing their town clerk to come up for a day and kind of mentor, and is available anytime for questions, as well as the town of Middleburg as well. So there's a good positive thing there. Yes, so we have a food vendor that's for the blood drive that they're going to be doing it at no cost. So
Basically giving the food away. They're going to have a truck. Or they'd like to have a truck here. I met with, I guess it's VFW or the veteran or that
VFW.
sponsors the
Yeah.
blood drive. And I met with that person, Joe's, I think, and they want to give the food away essentially, just to people participating. They wanted, and I told them that it was my understanding that we didn't allow the food trucks, but
for this,
there'd be any special consideration.
so if there wouldn't be any objection to this, given the circumstance. Yeah, well, yeah.
It's free.
It's free, yeah.
Blood drive?
This coming Saturday.
I don't have any objections that
So-
somebody wanting to support the food drive.
Right.
The blood drive, yeah.
Exactly. So without any objection, we're going to go ahead and proceed with that. Good, yeah.
What is the next step on Blight? I know that we had sent the letter to him. What are the, are we waiting on a response from him?
No,
Does he have-
he's passed the deadline for response. I did not receive a response. We obviously waited until after Haymarket Day so that we could use the parking.
Yeah.
The next step is going to be begin
Legal
blight
action.
remediation, and before we go down that path, look at the costs associated with it, and of course bring that back to the council for your consideration, because once you go down that path, it's not an inexpensive proposition. I think working through some of the other agencies, I have met with the state fire marshal's office, and I'm in the county fire marshal's office, and we're working on a MOU or some sort of agreement whereby they can actually come into the town and enforce some of these things for us. Apparently, and
we
Mark,
need a
you probably
resolution.
know more about some of the history of this than I do, but apparently there's some issues with in the past with an MOU for them to do that, and they wanted to take a look and make sure that our code gives them the authority that they need to come in and address some of these issues, other than the actual enforcement issues, which they do.
I'm happy to work with them on an MOU, but the current status that we have, where we have a resolution in place naming the county fire marshal as the town fire marshal, and the amendments to the town fire code were dictated to us by Prince William County, so I don't understand what else they want.
Maybe they might need to be reminded of what we already have.
Yeah, and I
think
didn't have a lot of institutional knowledge on that, but
right.
it didn't make a lot of sense to me what the problems were. But
We need to talk to them. Let's talk, because it's possible that they may have been rejected in the past.
We don't know, and so we do need to find out and then talk to them about what they need.
What we already passed, so it sounds like we might already have it.
Fire marshal's office and don't know the history.
Correct.
But there are some situations on the property that they certainly have jurisdiction over now. Joe's going to bring them in to take a look at some.
I think DEQ too.
DEQ have not gotten a response from them. We contacted them,
Right.
had them take a look at it. Unless Joe's got something recently, I haven't gotten a response
Okay.
back from DEQ. But certainly the fire marshal's office, and again, the licensing authority under the state for those used cars. I mean, one way to approach it is if the buildings can't be leased and there's no income on it, that's another way of approaching it. And
Mhm.
it would certainly be a loss of some of the lease revenue if some of those businesses had to cease and desist.
Right. Yeah, because if remember correctly, in speaking with Mr. Smith, he's only getting one rental income, and it's from Gossam's paving. So,
Two car dealerships.
yeah, he doesn't see that. He only sees the one payment from them, and then Gossam then collects from the accountant and from these other things. So he's like the sub-landlord, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they are blighted and we've asked them to give us a plan, which we have, and they haven't given us the plan, and they haven't, and then the deadline has passed, the next steps, to answer Councilman Lee's question, is that we can then prepare our own plan, which could include demolition of the structure and placing a lien on the property for the cost of the demolition.
Yep. I think structures, I think there's probably.
You do have to front the money, but then you get the lien and it's paid whenever the property's sold.
Good. Could we also collect the lien through other means?
Yes, if the lien is unpaid for a period of 2 years, it's treated just like any other tax lien, so we would be able to sell the property and collect the tax lien plus the cost of the transaction of filing the warrant, the bill in equity to sell the property, so you get all your money back. But again, you still have to upfront the money.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Jerry? Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
The chairman will be calling you to set up the next finance.
Only other thing, we have VML conference at the end of this week. So, and plus we have Mr. Shiro going from, yeah.
Are you going to talk to us? Are you going to talk to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just the four of us.
Yep. Yeah. So.
You're not going, Joe? Okay.
Other business. Anything else for closed session? I'm not sure where we are.
Do we need a closed session?
Yeah, I mean, not unless there's something that you know.
What's a council meeting without the closed
Yeah,
session?
right. Yeah, the only thing I think that we might be able to do is, to give us that next 15 days to meet, is do we need to recite that one motion that we,
I didn't bring that.
yeah. Yeah, it's just like always,
We haven't met in the last 15 days, so we couldn't have renewed it.
what, correct, no, but I'm just saying if it's, yeah.
If you want to renew
Oh, we
it.
started.
Yes.
The motion would be, yes, that the council meet sometime at an undisclosed time and location within the next 15 days for the sole purpose of interviewing candidates for the position of town manager.
So moved.
There we go. And seconded by Councilman Passanel. Discussion on the motion, and of course, just to make sure that we understand, this will give us the ability to meet with possible candidates without giving further notice of our meeting, solely for the purpose of candidates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Yeah, so we just need to set a date for our next say, work session. What's good for everybody? We're looking, not next week, but maybe the following week.
Work session for what?
This would just be drilling down on the vision of town center and Harriman
And the
property.
park.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Anything after the 17th is good for me,
Okay.
including the 17th.
19th is ARB, so
And 31st is our work session.
17th, on Monday.
and Halloween.
Oh, yeah, we might want to.
So something in the 20s?
I am unavailable Tuesday, Thursdays all month.
Okay.
I move we go to Thursday, no, man.
And
What about,
let's,
what
elect
about
our
Wednesday,
chairman.
is Wednesday in the 20s? 26, but that's just a few days, but we do need this to be separate, so. And then prior to that would be, on a Wednesday would be,
19th.
It's the 19th, that's ARB.
yeah, okay.
And the
And
only
the-
other Wednesday is next Wednesday,
and the
and people are
20th
coming back from
The 20th is a Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
How did the third?
Thursday's no good for
Oh,
students.
that's right. Sorry, that's okay. never
I'm
mind.
in class
That's okay.
all month, Tuesday, Thursdays from 6 to 10.
Okay.
The 17th or 24th, that's a Monday.
Okay. The 24th then? How's that look for everyone?
What day is that?
Monday.
24th?
Time?
Oh, I know. This would be, what do you think the earliest we can meet?
Yeah, Monday, 24th is probably okay.
Okay.
I can do any time on Mondays.
Same here.
Okay. Chris? You want to try for something as early as 5 or 5:30, or is that too early?
I might be a tad late, but I could get there probably by 5:30-ish.
Okay. Why don't we shoot for 5:30, the 24th? Is that what we end up doing?
Are we gonna
24th
do
at
dinner?
5:30. Yeah, we'll have something brought to us or something. Okay, great.
Might be a good opportunity for Susanna to be there too as well.
Yeah.
Perfect, too. Yes.
Bring her
Good
in.
point.
She'll be here
If she-
that day, right? Mondays and
Yes,
Wednesdays. she's
yeah,
here.
maybe we make a late day, swing it late.
Just, yeah, start it later.
Great, okay. All right, there you go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
I've only done one motion.